The Y is a beacon on the hill to many people.
In an interesting way, it represents home.
It identifies us. It tells people that they have arrived to the site of something very unique, very different, someplace very special.
It's 1906, and Brigham Young University as a university is just 3 years old, an institution still searching for its identity. On a spring day, a conflict between the rival classes of 1906 and 1907 would surprisingly lead to the creation of an enduring symbol of unity and identity.
The class of 1907 decides that they want to do something to kind of stake their claim. So they go up and they carve a 0 and a 7 on the mountain.
That made the senior class mad, and so they went up the mountain and took it down, and they put their own up. So there was a fight between the classes.
I believe at one point fisticuffs are actually thrown, and it eventually gets broken up, and President Brimhall decides something has to be done.
We're going to do one symbol only, BYU, and this will stand for all of us forever.
The original plan was to paint the letters BYU on the mountainside. President Brimhall asks a drafting professor and his students to map out the design.
And they went up on the hill with a trenchant and measured the angle.
They tested the angle of the slope, and the way that a block letter was to appear down here in the valley.
On an April morning in 1906, students set out to build the first letter. The Y is a monumental 380 feet tall, slightly larger than a football field. They get to work transporting lime and sand up the mountain.
So it's 9 o'clock in the morning by the time they get started. They set up a line up the mountain where they're spaced about 8 to 10 feet apart, and they hand bags of a lime sand mixture from the bottom of the hill up to the top. And then they dump it across the Y's surface. It takes a lot longer than anyone thought it was going to take. They'd miss their lunches, and some of the students were fainting.
They got tired, and they started early in the morning, and they were exhausted, lifting these pails back and forth. They thought they'd be through by noon, and they went all the way to 4 o'clock. So they quit and said, whoa, we'll never put the B and the U in there.
They became discouraged after making the Y and realized that that was a little bigger project than they could take on.
So they left it 1/3 complete, and Y Mountain was born.
In the years that follow, when the original lime and sand mixture begins to wash away, students haul up more lime, rock, and later plaster and whitewash. Whitewashing the Y becomes an annual ritual for the BYU campus.
They called it Y Day. They'd go up and paint the Y again, get it clean and white.
And so we'd just have a bucket brigade starting at the bottom, and we'd send buckets of whitewash up hand to hand and splash the buckets on the Y, and there'd be some, if there were some brushes, who would brush it in and whiten it out.
I can remember only once did I have the privilege of being in the Y Brigade, and it was quite a sight. You could see this long line of students going up there and the buckets being passed from one to the other going up. And it was something that I think everybody looked to all year long, staff, faculty members.
As the number of students grows, there's more manpower than needed for the whitewashing effort. Y Day becomes a day of service for all students to work on campus and in the local community.
Y Day became a city event where there were too many students to just hand pails up, so they went to city projects.
We all went to school in our grubbies. We did the sorts of things like wash walls and really give the place a good clean. It wasn't just on campus. We did things for the elderly or for things that will run down around in the city, in the parks.
It really did foster the spirit of we belong to Brigham Young University.
Service is what brings people together more than any other thing.
In the 1960s, if you didn't participate, they would shave your head or they would toss you in the botany pond.
And then they have fun afterwards. They'd have a party with games and refreshments.
We had a lot of different contests going on. And actually one year I caught the greased pig.
And so Y Day was a big, big tradition in those days, and we all looked forward to it.
In the late 1970s, the whitewashing tradition comes to an end when the Y is covered with a gunite mixture flown to the site by helicopter. A mix of white cement and white sand keep the symbol vibrant. But Y Days and lighting the Y continue to be important events for the BYU community.
The other tradition that I personally love is the lighting of the Y, because you can see the lit Y from almost anywhere in the valley, and it symbolizes something important is going on campus.
In the 1940s, the intercollegiate knights were responsible for lighting the Y, using clumps of old mattress stuffing dipped in motor oil.
We get the mattress stuffing, make little balls dipped in oil, and then we would take those up to the mountain. We would put a ball about every foot all the way around, and then we would run up and down the Y and light those balls of fire. And from down here, it looked like one solid fire all the way around it.
Then they went from that into the torches. I remember at night, all of the lights would go out in our home. We would look up on that mountain and we would watch the parade of students working their way up with torches on the switchbacks. That was a big thing.
In the 70s, we had been denied the request to light the Y, so we prepared strings of lights that would simulate that same aspect of clumps around it.
When the Y is lit, it's almost like a magnet. Everybody will see it from down there, and everybody wants to hike up here. We have close to 400 to 1,000 people that hike this every day.
Standing 380 feet tall, the Y is 5 times the height of the H in Hollywood, visible from anywhere in Utah Valley. For BYU alumni and friends, seeing the Y on the mountain is more than a geographical marker. It has become a symbol of service, of unity, and of coming home.
That letter has been there throughout my whole life. It's an old friend. It means more than a letter on a mountain.
It's just a very special, warm, fuzzy feeling inside when I see it. It puts a lump in my throat. It makes me feel as if I'm coming home.
The students know when they see the Y on the mountain that they're at home and they're cared for.
The Spirit of the Y is 33,000 young men and women strong. It's the soul, the heartbeat that defines BYU.